Tonight, a 9 News exclusive. An Australian family who escaped the burning Japan Airlines jet share their incredible story for the first time. A man behind bars after a sickening attack inside an aged care home. Lithium batteries explode as an e-bike warehouse goes up in flames in Croydon. David Warner gets his baggy green back, but the mystery isn't over. And Australia is on the verge of an amazing Test victory, tearing through the Pakistani batting lineup with an incredible 15-minute spell.
This is 9 News with Charles Croucher.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the extraordinary story of the Australian passengers caught up in the aviation disaster no one should have survived. Teenagers Jacob and Hayley O'Sullivan from Queensland sharing their terrifying account from on board the Japan Airlines jet, which burst into flames after colliding with another plane. The Australians were some of the last people to escape the burning aircraft, and they captured it all on camera.
Flight 516 through the eyes of an Aussie teenager. Jacob O'Sullivan filming his escape from the back of the burning A350. Moving in single file down the smoky aisle and following orders in a foreign tongue. Then a leap of faith onto an emergency chute, sliding to solid ground. The 18-year-old reunited with his mum on the runway, but his dad and sister are missing.
Where are they?
They soon find their way to each other in shock at what's before their eyes.
It's going to blow up.
Disbelief at what they've just experienced.
Oh my God, the scariest moment in my life.
The Queensland family, some of the last passengers to scramble to safety.
The whole inside is on fire. We'd be dead right now.
Now 8,000 kilometres away, back home in Coolum, and that feeling hasn't gone away.
You're just thinking like you're lucky, like everyone on our plane's lucky to be alive still.
Jacob, his 17-year-old sister Hayley and their parents Tony and Bruce were on a ski holiday in Japan, returning from Sapporo to Tokyo on Japan Airlines. It was a textbook flight on Tuesday night until the landing at Haneda Airport.
It was probably like 1 or 2 seconds where it was like just a normal landing and then just a big hit.
Their jet colliding with a Coast Guard plane on the runway, both aircraft bursting into flames. There was confusion and then chaos when passengers realised the plane was on fire.
They didn't open the back evacuation things, and we were the second row from the back. Everyone else was like covering their face with their shirts and jumpers and had their head down. So obviously like the staff would have said that.
The teenagers say they struggled to understand instructions from the JAL cabin crew.
Everything in the plane shut down. So it was like the flight attendants were just screaming. There was a lady sitting next to me and my mum. She was just telling us to like grab our clothes and like cover our face.
Because when we were in there you couldn't see anything, it was all smoke, and then like when I saw the door and the slide and just like everything else, it was kind of like more of a relief.
Another survivor capturing Hayley's escape. Phones, one of the few things travellers held on to, ordered to leave everything behind.
The only thing we brought home is basically the clothes that we were wearing and just like phones, just stuff we had on us.
Yeah, the only bag we have is the bag that Mum had, like a crossbody bag with our passports in it, so luckily.
A small price to pay for walking away from an aviation disaster that will be analysed for years to come. For many of these people, the idea of boarding another flight 24 hours later would have been unthinkable.
It was kind of hard the next day hopping on a flight, but it was like, in a way, you just want to get home, get back, but it's more landings now that are a bit scary, but I guess it'll take time.
Here at Haneda Airport, the evidence has been collected and the salvage has started. Cranes now picking up the pieces of the destroyed Airbus. The pilots from both planes have also given an insight to investigators about how they ended up on the same runway. The captain and sole survivor of the Coast Guard plane is adamant he was given permission to take off, despite air traffic control records showing the JAL flight had right of way, while the 3 pilots from the Airbus were oblivious to the fire until a crew member raised the alarm.
To get that many off, for us it felt like a long time, but I guess it was 10 minutes to get 300 people out is pretty quick.
379 lives saved, among them the O'Sullivans, a Queensland family of 4 who now find themselves at the centre of one of the biggest stories in the world.
We thought it was going to blow up in a way, luckily it didn't. I was in a way just waiting for it to blow up.
In Tokyo, Japan, Tiffany Genders, 9 News.
And let's go straight to Tiffany Genders, who's at Haneda Airport in the Japanese capital. Tiff, good evening. This isn't just a story of survival.
Good evening, Charles. That story of survival is one that should be celebrated and told, but there is also a very sad side to this, and today we've learnt more about the 5 Japanese victims. They were all men aged between 27 and 56, selfless, dedicated members of the Coast Guard, spending time away from their own families to deliver aid to earthquake victims. Twin disasters so early into the new year. Charles, Japan is certainly a country doing it tough right now.
Tiffany Genders opening for us this Friday night. Thank you. It is a crime seasoned detectives say beggars belief. A 76-year-old woman sexually assaulted in her Coffs Harbour aged care home. But the victim has shown remarkable strength. Not only did she fight off the attacker, but her detailed account to police has helped them make an arrest.
Coffs Harbour and specialist police move in. Handcuffing a man they've been watching for days. 29-year-old Hayden Skinner last night charged with sexually assaulting a 76-year-old woman in her local aged care home early on New Year's Day.
Break into a nursing home, you are only going to find vulnerable people living there. So it beggars belief that someone would do this.
The victim has told police she woke to an intruder with a stocking covering his head, screaming. She was then allegedly pinned down and assaulted.
Police will further allege that the woman was agile enough to kick this male in the groin and scratch at his face.
The 76-year-old escaped to get help from staff, and the man ran back out the door and through the courtyard past another resident who was having a cigarette.
Physically, she has bruises and scratches. She's well supported by family, but as you can understand, an attack like this in the security of your own bed is very difficult to come to terms with.
Police say they were waiting for the return of fingerprint and forensic evidence before they made their arrest, but maintain public safety was at the top of mind. Hayden Skinner is known to police but has no connection to the victim. In a statement, the facility said additional security and staffing are in place. The 29-year-old didn't apply for bail in court today. He'll reappear on Monday. Liz Daniels, 9 News.
A 53-year-old man has drowned on the state's south coast. Nethercote Falls is a popular tourist spot midway between Merimbula and Eden. The man was pulled from the water there about 2 p.m. yesterday and could not be revived. It's the 41st drowning in the country since the start of December. A warehouse filled with e-bikes has gone up in flames in Croydon overnight. Residents were woken up by the raging inferno with hundreds of lithium batteries set alight.
20-metre flames light up the dawn sky in Croydon as an e-bike repair and rental warehouse goes up in flames. From backyards to bedroom windows, this was the view locals around Elizabeth Street woke up to.
I've rushed out the front and then that whole place is up in smoke.
It was just smoke and within a few minutes it was just up in flames.
Dozens forced to evacuate as the inferno took hold.
The police knocked on our door and told us to evacuate and sent us down the road, so here we are.
We woke up, we heard bangs outside and we just looked out. We were literally right across the road and the whole thing was up in flames, so we kind of ran.
50 firefighters were called to the brick and timber building just after 5 a.m, a peek inside revealing the source of the blaze. Lithium batteries from hundreds of bikes popping and exploding.
They maintain a lot of heat when they're on fire. They don't go out as easily as other fuel sources.
Firefighters have used this aerial platform to knock the fire down. They've done a remarkable job at stopping the flames from spreading to neighbouring buildings, like a petrol station next door. After 2 hours, the situation was in hand, the factory destroyed.
Our risks still include, obviously, the structure collapse that has been impacted, the surrounding structure.
Investigators will need to wait until the building has been made safe, until they can get inside and determine the ignition point. In Croydon, James Wilson, 9 News.
A man was badly injured in what police believe was a road rage assault in Fairfield West. They were called to the intersection of the Cumberland Highway and Hamilton Road at about 10 last night, where they found a 34-year-old man with serious leg injuries about 50 metres from his parked car. Police are looking for the driver of a black Ford Ranger with red P plates, who they believe was in the area at the time. An elderly woman is tonight recovering in hospital after she was allegedly attacked while waiting in the emergency department at Bankstown. Let's go live to Massilia Ailey, who's at Bankstown Hospital for us. Massilia, you've spoken to the family. What have they had to say?
Charles, the woman's son, has told 9 News that his mum, a dementia patient, is now suffering from a brain bleed and inability to speak after she was attacked here at Bankstown Hospital's emergency department. It was 2:45 a.m. on Thursday when a man who we now know to be 28-year-old Richard Lim allegedly grabbed and assaulted her 2 daughters, inflicting injuries to their faces before he then allegedly turned on their 81-year-old mum, punching her, choking her and slamming her head against the wall. In a statement, they say that they've been traumatised by what's happened and left in extreme emotional pain and a state of disbelief. They say they understand it was an unpredictable incident and are thankful to the hospital and police for the way that they've handled the situation. As for Mr Lim, Charles, he'll remain in custody until he fronts court in February.
Massilia Ailey in Bankstown, thank you. A critical shortage of skilled workers has the Defence Force taking extraordinary steps tonight. The ADF offering its junior and middle ranks cash bonuses of $50,000 to sign on for another 3 years.
Graduation day for young defence recruits, embarking on careers that require discipline and prized skills.
They turn out very professional operators and they are in huge demand in the private sector.
So much so that after 4 years minimum service, too many are leaving for more lucrative pay in the defence and security industries, the resource sector and the trades.
We invest a lot in training them and we want to make sure that we keep them after their initial service period.
More than 720 ADF personnel received a $50,000 bonus this week in return for serving another 3 years. Another 1,100 will soon receive the payment. All up, 3,400 from the Army, Navy and Air Force will receive the cash under a $400 million retention scheme.
We are currently confronting the most complex set of strategic circumstances in our region since the Second World War. We need to grow our Defence Force to deal with that.
Investing in our capability, and part of that is investing in our personnel.
This is a necessary but not sufficient move.
Defence analyst Beck Shrimpton says the recruitment and retention task also has to keep up with emerging challenges, including China's relentless rise and ever-sophisticated cyber attack.
It will always be guns and bullets and bombs, but on top of that it is coding, it is space warfare, it is electronic warfare.
The Defence Strategic Review anticipates Australia will need an extra 18,500 ADF personnel by 2040, and the government's not ruling out recruiting from Pacific Island nations.
It's expanding the scope of who we can recruit to get those new roles filled, very important.
Andrew Probyn, 9 News.
Japan's Prime Minister has vowed to continue searching for survivors of an earthquake which has left 84 people dead so far. At least 179 people remain unaccounted for after the Noto Peninsula was hit by a 7.6 magnitude earthquake on New Year's Day. Well, after days of searching, outgoing Test opener Dave Warner has been reunited with his missing baggy green caps. The questions tonight: how were they found and where did they go?
It didn't make an appearance at the SCG this afternoon, but back in his hands, the talk of the town, David Warner's well-worn, well-loved baggy green cap.
I am pleased and relieved that I've got my baggy back.
As the Aussies returned to the crease this morning,
wonderful news. Call off the search. It's been found. Dave Warner has been reunited with his beloved baggy green cap.
it wasn't just talk of form or wickets from the commentators.
Your baggy green is your baggy green. It's your membership at an exclusive club. Good news for David Warner, and well done whoever got the caps back.
Even the PM weighed in from the commentary box.
It is great that the caps are back, and it's something that should be earned, not procured.
David Warner sparked a frantic interstate hunt on the eve of the Sydney Test.
Unfortunately, someone has taken my backpack.
With his priceless baggy greens going missing in transit after the Boxing Day Test in Melbourne.
After a 3-day search, both the caps were found here at the Intercontinental, the team's Sydney hotel, last night. Cricket Australia saying the bag in which they were packed was found here, with all the contents inside.
The mystery remains, though, as to the movements of the backpack over the last 3 days.
Any cricketer knows how special their cap is, and I'll cherish this for the rest of my life.
The retiring opener made a disappointing 34 in Australia's first innings. He's set to get another shot in the middle later in the Test, with the cap back where it belongs.
Oh, good on him. I'm glad it got returned. Hopefully that will bring him good luck.
Lizzie Pearl, 9 News.
And today, the SCG once again became a sea of pink for the 16th annual Jane McGrath Day, raising funds for a very important cause.
Baggy pinks, now an annual uniform.
And this man here knows as much about this as anyone.
Captain Pat Cummins in his first pink Test since losing his mum to breast cancer.
A day to remember loved ones. We've all lost someone.
Sharing the spotlight, nurses and survivors, carrying on the legacy of Glenn McGrath's late wife, Jane.
This Test match is about celebration. That's what Jane would have wanted.
All to raise funds for McGrath breast care nurses. Margaret Bushman has been collecting donations for 7 years running.
Get pink bandanas, go.
And she's tough on the rules.
It's amazing. And if you're not in pink, you're out.
And they listened. Just about 35,000 of them.
Everyone to unite in pink.
Top marks for effort.
We're standing out the front in our undies.
Even police got the memo. Officers and horses. There was a touch of magic.
Where'd you find the fairy wings?
Lowe's.
And some committed cowboys. At Allianz Stadium, a more civilised affair. Nurses and survivors joined by sports stars, politicians and the women behind our top cricketers for a high tea.
Out of that tragedy has come a wonderful thing, a wonderful thing.
Even if you can't make it down to the ground, you can still play a part in the Test by buying a virtual pink seat. The McGrath Foundation is aiming to sell 322,000. They're about halfway there.
On behalf of Jane McGrath, thank you so much.
At the SCG, Annalise Bolt, 9 News.
OK, it's time for a check of today's weather. Good evening, Lara.
A very good evening to you, Charles. There were patches of blue underneath that cloud cover today, but even without the sunshine, those lucky enough to be out on the water enjoyed this view of Sydney's skyline surrounded by silvery clouds. For the most part, the rain held off in the city today. However, the southerlies this afternoon made it feel quite cool at times, reaching a high of 26 degrees. In our west, it was even cooler, reaching 24.3 just before 3 p.m. That's about 7 degrees below average for this time of year. So what's the weather going to be like tomorrow? I'll have your full weekend forecast coming up after sport, Charles.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Lara. Coming up, we have breaking news. Former Paralympian Oscar Pistorius released from prison 11 years after he killed his model girlfriend. A police pursuit in Western Sydney ends with a caravan in pieces and 2 cars wrecked at Tregear. Plus, see the moment lifeguards came to the rescue of a beached whale shark, and farewelling a Mary Poppins star who's been labelled the last of old Hollywood. We have breaking news this Friday night, and disgraced Paralympian and convicted murderer Oscar Pistorius has just been released from a South African jail. He was convicted of murdering his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp, shooting her through a closed toilet door on Valentine's Day in 2013. Pistorius had served 9 years and will be on parole until December 2029. A late-night police pursuit through Western Sydney has ended with a caravan and 2 vehicles destroyed. The scale of the wreckage alone a remarkable sight, with those involved walking away uninjured.
A caravan smashed onto the footpath. It's hard to tell, but sandwiched underneath it is a parked car.
Well, shout out. What time is it? It's 1:16 in the morning. Yeah. And my whole car's gone.
Mount Druitt Police patrolling Aurora Drive at Tregear just after midnight when this black sedan ute crossed their radar. The driver allegedly fails to stop, losing control before slamming into a parked Hilux ute, a caravan and a Holden hatchback. Also taking out a brick fence.
Oh my God, imagine if she went flying into his house.
Heard massive bang after hearing sirens, car there. Caravan on cars here.
Definitely an explosion. I just went into shock.
Aisha, the owner of the car under the van, had only purchased it a month ago.
She had just left 20 minutes prior to the accident. Yeah, just like she wasn't walking up our front steps.
The force of the crash caused the caravan to shift and launch onto the front of this parked Holden Cruise, the contents of the van spewing out across the street. The driver of the ute and her passenger both emerging from the wreckage without any injuries. Ashley Dempsey was allegedly behind the wheel, charged with driving on a suspended licence and failing to stop. The 34-year-old was granted bail and will front court later this month. In Tregear, Erin Ramsey, 9 News.
A woman is tonight in a serious condition at Newcastle's John Hunter Hospital after she was hit by a police car at Kempsey on the state's mid-north coast. The incident happened at about 2:30 this morning.
The information I have is that she's in a serious but stable condition, leg, pelvis and spinal injuries.
Tonight, a critical incident investigation is underway. Tensions in the Middle East have escalated further tonight with an American airstrike in Iraq and Israel continuing to pound southern Lebanon. It comes as ISIS says it was behind one of the worst attacks in recent days.
A massive blast in an area that's a tinderbox. Israel continuing to attack southern Lebanon. Here it says a Hezbollah observation post was destroyed. This coming a day after Hezbollah's leader warned of retaliation against Israel over the drone attack which killed Hamas commander Saleh Aruri. In Beirut, thousands joined a procession carrying the coffins of Aruri and others killed in that blast. The aggression will be met with a strong response from the resistance, says a Hamas representative. Despite the fiery language, it's being reported that Hezbollah has actually pulled some forces back from the border with Israel, a sign it doesn't want a fully fledged conflict now. In Iraq, another funeral, this time for the commander of a militia killed by an American airstrike. It's understood the Baghdad headquarters of the Iran-backed militia was targeted in response to attacks on bases housing US troops in Iraq and Syria. And in Iran, while Israel and America were both blamed for yesterday's twin blasts, which killed more than 100 people, responsibility has been taken by a group many may have thought was eradicated. Iran State TV says Islamic State says it was behind the blast, 2 of its members wearing explosive vests. Brett McLeod, 9 News.
Lifeguards have rushed to save a beached baby whale shark near Cape Town. The mammal was first spotted 20 metres offshore before it became stranded on the sand. It was eventually freed and headed back out to sea. Glynis Johns, best known for playing Mrs. Banks in Disney's Mary Poppins, has died aged 100. The British actress's career spanned more than 60 years, seeing her star in dozens of films and win a Tony Award for her work in the Broadway musical A Little Night Music. She'd retired to the United States and spent her final years living in an assisted living home in Hollywood. Well, still to come this Friday night, a president under pressure, the damaging new claims about Bill Clinton as more Epstein files are released. A couple fleeced of $5,000, they're warning about a new rental scam. From Liverpool to the Shire, we'll tell you which suburbs had the longest delays for renovations. The new technology changing the game for surfers and anglers. And the search for a naked man on Sydney's North Shore. Former US President Bill Clinton is tonight facing fresh allegations about his involvement with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Hundreds more documents and the names of dozens of wealthy and powerful people have been made public in the sex trafficking case.
Bill Clinton waving to diners in the Dominican Republic. Back on US soil, a fresh batch of damning documents in the sex trafficking case of Jeffrey Epstein were released. Hundreds of pages unsealed, among them the allegation former President Clinton had pressured a magazine to kill a story about the pedophile. He walked into Vanity Fair and threatened them not to write sex trafficking articles about his good friend Jeffrey Epstein, wrote Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre in 2011. A claim penned during a series of emails between her and a Daily Mail journalist.
It's important that the public have access to the documents because it isn't just about Epstein.
Clinton has been named multiple times in the more than 1,400 documents that have now been released. He's not accused of any crimes or wrongdoing, but has previously admitted to having flown on Jeffrey Epstein's private plane. That aircraft, the so-called Lolita Express, now set to be dismantled and scrapped. The thousands of files being made public are all part of a lawsuit brought against Ghislaine Maxwell in 2015. Tonight, her lawyers insisting she is innocent and vowing to plough ahead with an appeal against her 20-year jail sentence. Ghislaine's focus is on asking for her entire case to be dismissed. She is confident that she will obtain justice. For now, Maxwell remains behind bars as the fallout of her former boss continues. In the United States, Lauren Tomasi, 9 News.
Back home in trouble for power transmission giant Transgrid. Union members today walking off the job for an hour over pay. The Electricity Trades Union says 83% of eligible employees rejected Transgrid's proposed 13% increase over 3 years. Tonight, calling for a 17% pay rise instead. Well, most of us check the weather forecast before hitting the water, but it tells us very little about the swell. Tonight, new technology being rolled out by the state government will provide real-time updates on wave activity up to 10 days in advance.
Deep under the surface, a bed of untapped intelligence. Lying dormant until now. New technology tapping into these buoys that have been monitoring wave activity off our coast for 30 years.
What our tool does is it then uses sophisticated equations to estimate how those waves then change from that offshore deep water position to how they then interact with the shoreline.
Providing real-time and historical data to the team of scientists behind the Nearshore Wave tool, which they use to provide a wave forecast updated every 3 hours.
Waves are what drive coastal hazards like erosion, coastal flooding, so it's really important to understand what wave conditions are driving those.
And the day-to-day beach conditions.
We plan to come to the beach for the day with the kids, understanding the 10-day forecast, the best time to come when you can get in safely and the kids can splash around.
Planning for ocean swims, surfers as well, like surfers themselves and surfing events, and just anyone that does anything in and around the waterways of New South Wales.
Helping our lifeguards save lives.
We are really exposed here because we're below the high water mark, so it'll be great to have some more information on the swell sizes.
With an average of 13 people killed every year swept off the rocks while fishing, it's hoped that rock fishermen will use the tool to check for dangerous swell before putting a line in. The technology also giving us a look at the past to help plan for the future.
And users can go and look at historic storm events in the past and look at what wave conditions formed part of those events. And this is really important information for coastal managers.
Helps us plan for the infrastructure that we're building to make sure that it's resilient to the kind of wave surges that we're getting.
In Coogee, Sophie Upcroft, 9 News.
A big step tonight in the delivery of a major underground pipeline network servicing Western Sydney. The first section of 40 kilometres of pipeline has been laid in the $300 million network. It will eventually carry byproducts from the Advanced Water Recycling Centre being built at Kemps Creek.
The Upper South Creek Advanced Water Recycling Centre will eventually cater for 400,000 people in this catchment, so that's everything from Camden to Penrith and everything between.
Sydney Water says it will be the most advanced wastewater recycling facility in the Southern Hemisphere. The time taken to approve a development application has blown out to record levels, and tonight we can tell you where. The average across metropolitan Sydney is 139 days. That's up from 107 in 2021-22. Liverpool City Council's wait time is 283 days on average, nearly twice as long as 2 years ago. Georgia's River Council is at 251 days. That's up from 154, while those in Sutherland Shire will have to wait 247 days on average, up from 149. A couple has been fleeced of more than $5,000 after they were caught out by a sophisticated rental scam. Criminals imitating and taking over the email of a property manager on the Gold Coast.
Sam and Georgia Thompson want their story to serve as a warning.
Maybe we can stop it happening to someone else.
Just before Christmas, the young parents were searching for a new rental. After dozens of inspections and applications, this townhouse looked like a sure thing.
It seemed to be going well, like we loved the house, we put the application in.
A few days later, they emailed the property manager to follow up. She replied saying she hadn't heard anything back, the owner has COVID. An hour and a half later, on the same email chain, she replies again. The owner has accepted the application, but requires a bond of $4,200 to secure the property. Then the next email arrives.
Before we can continue with the lease, I do need a $700 letting fee and a $700 caution fee, which I didn't feel great about, but we needed a house. We've got 12 days left in this property.
Eager to have a home locked in, they paid the full amount, $5,600. But then nothing. When he called the property manager, she had no idea what he was talking about.
I freaked out. I only spoke to her for about 3 minutes because I just felt like everything's falling apart.
He quickly realised scammers had intercepted the email chain.
$5,600 down, we found out we don't have the house that we thought we had, and we have 12 days to move.
Australians lost more than $429 million to scammers last year. The advice in this particular case is to always call the real estate agent and check that the email and bank details were from them.
Perhaps where possible, go in person to pay the money to the real estate agent, certainly in the case of the upfront bond.
I guess if you're going to hand over money, go into the office and do it in person.
Isabel Quinlan, 9 News.
Police are looking for a man who broke into a home in Sydney's North Shore whilst naked. The brazen culprit allegedly entered a home on Patrick Street at North Willoughby around 3:30 yesterday morning. He woke up a resident before leaving the scene. He's described as Caucasian, 160 centimetres tall, and has short, dark hair. Ahead in 9 News, on the run from police, a car with a mangled hood speeds to escape, but the law quickly catches up. Plus, how you can access more Medicare benefits for free. We have a special report coming up. And in sport with Danika, it was an incredible fight back from our cricketers in the Sydney Test.
Yes, good evening, Charles. It happened late and it happened quickly. Up next, how the Aussies managed to tear through Pakistan, leaving many in disbelief. Why Rafael Nadal is predicting big things from Alex de Minaur at the Australian Open. Also, what caused this crazy reaction from one of the NBA's coolest heads?
The sunshine will be back this weekend, but not for long. I'll tell you the best day to go out and enjoy it soon.
It looked like Australia had met their match. A late batting collapse and a 14-run deficit. The Aussies were in trouble until a sensational late spell with the ball. At stumps on day 3, Pakistan are 7 for 68, leading by just 82 runs, with the game turning in an instant.
The centrepiece of the Sydney Test, pink day at the SCG. Showers had stopped and the light looked good. Today's reason for stopping play?
That surely cannot be the reason.
A roll of tape. It was eventually removed, as was Steve Smith not long after.
Can you believe it? First up, he's fallen for it.
When Marnus Labuschagne played and missed,
Got him! Wow, what a ripper that is, Salman!
Australia was in trouble. Pakistan's pain, self-inflicted. Friendly fire in the field.
He's sent off. That's a red card. Studs up. You're off.
Until Mitchell Marsh swung momentum.
And no one there.
He combined with Alex Carey for 84, posting another hard-fought 50. But the collapse was coming.
Straight through him.
Marsh fell on 54 and the floodgates were opened. The Aussies losing 5 for 10. The chief destroyer, Amir Jamal. 7 years ago, he was in the stands playing for Hawkesbury in Sydney Grade. Today, he was celebrated by the city.
Obviously, I'm over the moon now. I still remember those days when I came to watch my Pakistan team's game, and now I represented my country and performed for them.
Behind by 14, Australia needed something special. In this team of champions, it was almost a certainty.
Oh, straight through! It had to be, didn't it? It's a pair. It's the worst possible result for Abdullah Shafiq. Unbelievable, Mitchell Stark.
Josh Hazlewood had another in the next over before Australia's spinners struck.
Big shout, Lion really likes it.
The day looked done, but Hazlewood had other ideas.
Oh, straight through. Straight through.
Australia's unsung hero, he took 3 wickets in the 1 over.
Edge. Oh, I don't believe it. I don't believe what I'm seeing here.
And in the blink of an eye, brought his team to the verge of victory.
Yeah, it was amazing, actually. It was quite loud through the start of the over with the wickets, and then that last couple of balls was, it was pretty amazing.
Sam Jordan, 9 News.
India has won the shortest test match ever completed. They defeated South Africa just after lunch on day 2 in Cape Town. Ada Markram scored 106 of the Proteas' 176 second inning runs, while Jasprit Bumrah destroyed the rest of the batting lineup, taking 6 for 61. Needing 79 runs to win, India reached the target 3 wickets down, the match lasting just 107 overs. The Hobart Hurricanes have at last cured their homesickness, breaking a 10-match losing streak away from Tasmania in the Big Bash. After restricting the Renegades to 147, the Hurricanes reached the target with 8 balls to spare. He's one of the greatest of all time, and Rafael Nadal believes Alex de Minaur is ready to challenge for a Grand Slam following his shock win over Novak Djokovic. The Spaniard will be back on court at the Brisbane International tonight as the Demon prepares for Australia's United Cup semi-final.
Team Australia in town, ready to continue its courageous United Cup charge.
Hopefully we're all peaking in the right moments and we can keep it going here in Sydney.
Spearheaded by Sydney's own Alex de Minaur, whose straight sets wins over Taylor Fritz and Novak Djokovic have filled this fighter with even more belief.
I've had some great wins and just to be able to beat some of these top players has given me the confidence to know that I can do it on any given day.
Rafael Nadal applauding the Australian. He agrees the Demon is a different beast this summer.
No, I don't see him far at all to fight for very important things.
Can he challenge for a slam?
Absolutely. Well, you know, Novak is as good as it gets. Still over 5 sets and Grand Slam and all that. You've got to push towards, giving yourself the opportunity to be in the quarters, semis and finals, but that's certainly the next goal for Alex.
Australia will face Germany or Greece in tomorrow's semi, while Nadal will play Aussie Jordan Thompson in Brisbane tonight. Returning from hip surgery, the 22-time Grand Slam champion eased past Jason Kubler 6-1, 6-2, but has picked up another issue.
The foot is problematic, and for the moment I am able to move myself with no limitations.
Zach Bailey, 9 News.
And Nikola Jokic has again shown why he's considered one of the best basketballers in the world. The reigning NBA Finals MVP draining a buzzer beater from near halfway to help Denver to a 130-127 win over Golden State, leaving Steph Curry and his Warriors stunned. The usually cool-headed Jokic rightfully getting carried away as the Nuggets came back from 18 points down in less than 7 minutes. Incredible scenes there, and hopefully some incredible scenes tonight. The United Cup action continues here on 9.
Go the Aussies. Thank you, Danika. In the news ahead, the free scheme that doctors want you to join tonight, promising it will save you money. And nothing says relief like this. An elephant reunites with her calf after being separated for days. Police in Western Australia have been led on a wild chase in pursuit of an allegedly stolen car. Officers spotting it from the air heading down a bush track south of Perth. The battered bonnet getting in the way of a quick escape, the driver eventually crashing in an industrial area. Before police chased and continued on foot, 2 men were eventually cornered and arrested. It's free to join and gives you access to more Medicare benefits, but new research suggests many Australians are unaware of the new My Medicare scheme. Nine's medical contributor, Dr Nick Coatsworth, has more.
You may have recently received an email or text message from your GP asking you to register for My Medicare. The voluntary scheme was launched in October, aiming to improve continuity of care. When a patient registers with My Medicare, the general practice is notified and receives extra funding from the federal government. There are benefits for both patients and providers. Patients who sign up have access to longer Medicare-funded telehealth consultations, as well as more regular GP visits if they're living in residential aged care. And for GPs, there are greater bulk billing incentives. The Australian Patients Association recently surveyed more than 9,000 Australians. Only 25% of them said they planned to register for My Medicare. Worryingly, 61% didn't know the scheme existed. The government and doctors will need to do a harder sell in 2024 if My Medicare is to succeed.
There's a call tonight to build 3 permanent amphitheatres at Parramatta Park, the Domain and South Park at Bradfield near the new Western Sydney Airport. Business leaders say they will save $2 million a year that's spent constructing and dismantling temporary live performance spaces. The government says it's preparing a business case for up to 4 new amphitheatres, including one in regional New South Wales. And this is the moment an elephant was reunited with her calf after becoming separated in India. Workers at the wildlife park had found the calf 3 kilometres away from the herd and used a rope to guide it back to safety. After trekking through thick forest, the calf was safely returned and even enjoyed a cuddle with mum. Coming up, Lara with the weather.
Thank you, Charles. It'll be a mostly clear night tonight, making way for sunny skies tomorrow with moderate southeasterly winds, which will start to ease later this evening. Right now, it's 23 degrees in the city, 26 in our west. Your full weekend forecast is coming up next. As we edge closer to the end of the first week of 2024, last year was the equal 8th warmest year on record, according to the Bureau of Meteorology. But it didn't quite feel like that today as the moderate southeasterly winds kicked in, especially in our west, keeping temperatures several degrees below the January average. Across our suburbs today, 24 was the top in Penrith, 26 the high in Blacktown, 25 in Kellyville and Parramatta, and Cronulla reached 24 degrees. A bit further afield in our backyard, Grafton reached a top of 30 degrees today with scattered showers. The sunshine returned in Dubbo, Mudgee and Bathurst. 22 was the top in Wollongong. To the broader outlook for tomorrow, and a low-pressure trough will generate scattered to widespread rainfall and the chance of thunderstorms across South Australia and Victoria before that system moves into New South Wales and Queensland from Sunday, bringing heavy falls to both states by next week. Brisbane will see some showers tomorrow and a top of 28 degrees. Partly cloudy and 26 for Canberra. It'll be a lovely Saturday in Melbourne. 25 will be the high in Hobart. The chance of a storm developing in Adelaide, and Perth will be sunny. In our backyard tomorrow, scattered showers will develop in the evening in Broken Hill and in Burke as well. Dubbo will be sunny and 33. 29 will be the high in Mudgee. Along the coast, though, Newcastle will be cloudy and 26 degrees. 24 will be the top in Wollongong. We'll wake up to some cloud cover tomorrow morning, but the good news is that it should stay dry throughout the day with light easterly winds, which will ease by the afternoon. Minimum temperatures ranging from 18 degrees there. 27 will be the top in Penrith tomorrow, 26 in Blacktown, Liverpool, Parramatta and Campbelltown too. Slightly cooler for Cronulla, reaching at 23 degrees, the top there. For the rest of the week in the city, Sunday is looking absolutely lovely. Sunshine with a top of 28 degrees. The chance of showers for the start of the week, 29 will be the top. 32 will be the top on Tuesday, also with the chance of some rain, 28 degrees on Wednesday. In our west, Sunday will be the day to enjoy all of that sunshine with a top of 31 degrees. The rain then returns on Monday and Tuesday, reaching a high of 35. 32 and wet will be the forecast on Wednesday, and the showers will linger for the rest of the week. So go and enjoy the sunshine while it lasts before those wet conditions start to set on early next week, Charles.
Good advice, Lara. Thank you. Dimity Clancy is next with the current affair, but that is 9 News this Friday. Thank you for being here with us. I'm Charles Croucher. Hope you have a great evening. Good night.